It's 3 a.m., or maybe it's closer to 4 now, I don't know, and frankly, I don't give a damn. Time feels like a foreign concept, something that happens to other people. I'm sitting on the edge of the guest bed at my sister Kate's place, the one with the lumpy mattress and the quilt that smells faintly of lavender and mothballs. I'm still wearing the same damn shirt I had on when I walked out of my own house, my own goddamn house, 5 hours ago. It's a wrinkled mess, probably smells like stale airplane air and the sweat of pure, unadulterated rage. It feels like a lifetime ago. My hands are shaking. It's not the cold, not really. It's the quiet after the storm, you know, that deep, buzzing tremor that works its way into your bones after the adrenaline finally gives up and leaves you feeling like a hollowed-out gourd. You see it in movies, the guy who finds out he's been cheated on. He either breaks down sobbing or starts throwing things, punching walls. Me, I've got nothing, I'm just empty. The anger is still there, I can feel it banked somewhere deep in my chest, a cold, heavy lump of coal where my heart used to be. It's not a hot, screaming rage anymore. It's a dead weight. For the last hour, maybe more, I've been staring at a tiny, hairline crack in the plaster on the opposite wall. It's shaped like a little bolt of lightning, a jagged little scar, and it's become the most fascinating thing in the universe. It's something to focus on, something that isn't the reel of film playing on a loop in my head, burned onto the back of my eyelids. My brain just won't go there, not yet. It's a defense mechanism, I guess. It's like I just pressed the big red button, detonated my entire life, and now I'm standing in the crater in that eerie, dead silent calm that comes right after the blast. The air still tastes like smoke and betrayal, and all I can do is sit here and shake, wondering how the hell the world can be so quiet when everything inside me is still so goddamn loud. You sit in a silence like this and your brain, that bastard, starts to rewind the tape. It does it without your permission, it forces you to watch. And you realize the explosion wasn't sudden. The fuse has been burning for years, 5 years with Isla. 5 years of me making excuses for her, for us. I was the king of excuses. The champion of looking the other way. Conflict, man, I avoided it like the plague. I told myself it was because I was easygoing, that I was the calm one. The truth is, I was just a coward. She'd call it having standards or being passionate. I'd call it being sharp-tongued and cruel. I remember one dinner, maybe a year ago, with my friends from college. I'm a financial advisor, I'm good at it. I help regular people, families, secure their futures. It's steady, it's honest work. And she, right there at the table in front of everyone, laughed. Owen plays with his little spreadsheets, she said, with that dazzling smile that made it seem like a joke. He helps people budget for new tires. It's quaint, the word hung in the air, stinking up the whole evening. My friends shifted uncomfortably. I just smiled, a tight, stupid smile, and squeezed her hand under the table, a silent plea to just stop. I told myself she didn't mean it, that she was just trying to be witty, but I knew she was embarrassed by me, and the money, God, the money. It was a constant, low-grade hum of anxiety. My salary was good, more than enough, but for her, it was never enough. It was always about the next thing, the bigger thing, the shinier thing. The condo had to be in the trendiest part of town, the car had to be German, her handbags had to have names I couldn't even pronounce. I'd build these careful budgets, these plans for our future, a house, maybe kids, someday. And she'd blow through them with a casual swipe of a credit card for a weekend trip I didn't know we were taking, or a dress for a gala I didn't want to go to. Every time I'd bring it up gently, and every time it would turn into a fight where I was the bad guy. I was stifling her, I was obsessed with money, I was holding her back from the life she deserved. And me, the conflict-avoidant idiot, I'd always back down. Because the fight was always worse than just letting it go. It was easier to work a few extra hours than to have that cold silence in the apartment for 3 days. Then there was Ronan. Ronan was her boss at the marketing firm. A predator in a $1,000 suit, the kind of guy who calls everyone chief and has a handshake that's more of a power play. From the beginning, my gut screamed at me about him. The way he looked at her, the way she'd light up when his name came up. She'd talk about how driven he was, how he was a visionary. I'd see him at company events, oozing that slick corporate charm, and all I saw was a shark. I tried to talk to her about it once, just once. I said I wasn't comfortable with the late-night brainstorming sessions or the constant texting. Her reaction was nuclear. I wasn't just wrong, I was pathetic. My God, Owen, are you that insecure? She'd spat, her eyes flashing. Are you so threatened by a man who's actually successful? Don't project your own inadequacies onto me. That was her go-to move. Turn it around, make it my fault, my weakness. And like a fool, I bought it. I apologized. I actually fucking apologized for feeling the way I did. I buried the concern, telling myself I was being the jealous, small-minded boyfriend she accused me of being. I chose to believe her because the alternative was too terrifying to face. The alternative was that my entire life was a lie. That necklace, God, that's the part that twists the knife. It's not about the value. You could probably get $50 for it at a pawn shop. It's a simple silver chain, delicate, with a small, milky white moonstone pendant. It's not flashy. It's quiet, just like my mom was. The memory is so sharp it hurts. I was 16, all gangly limbs and teenage awkwardness, sitting by her hospice bed. The room smelled of antiseptic and fading flowers. She was so thin, a shadow of the vibrant woman who'd taught me how to ride a bike and how to make the perfect grilled cheese. But her smile, that was still there. She took the necklace from her own neck, her fingers frail and cool against my skin as she pressed it into my palm. This is my little piece of the moon, Owen, she'd whispered, her voice raspy. Your grandmother gave it to me. She said it was a guardian stone, that it holds a little bit of light even on the darkest nights. She coughed, a dry, rattling sound that shook her whole frame. I just held her hand, trying not to cry. One day, she continued, her eyes locking onto mine, you'll give this to the woman you're going to spend your life with. Make sure she's someone who understands, someone who sees the light in it, not just the silver. It was the last real conversation we ever had. She was gone a week later. For years, that necklace sat in a small, felt-lined box in my sock drawer. It was my most sacred possession. It wasn't just a piece of jewelry, it was my last physical connection to her. It was her blessing, her hope for my future, her love, all wrapped up in a cool, smooth stone. When I proposed to Isla about 6 months ago, I gave it to her. We were on the coast, the sun was setting, the whole cliché. After she said yes, I pulled out the little box. I told her the whole story. I told her about my mom, about the guardian stone, about what it meant to me. I made sure she understood this wasn't just another shiny thing. This was a piece of my soul. She cried, actual tears. She held it like it was a fragile bird, and she looked me in the eye and said, I will cherish it, Owen. I'll protect it like it's my own heart. She promised. She fucking promised, and I believed her. I watched her put my mother's legacy around her neck, and in that moment I felt like my mom was there, smiling, giving us her blessing. What a goddamn fool I was. The trip to Chicago was supposed to be 3 days. A quarterly review with the head office. Boring, but necessary. I wrapped it up in 2. By Tuesday afternoon, I was done. My first thought wasn't to enjoy a night in the city. It was to get home. I wanted to see Isla, to surprise her. The thought of her face lighting up when I walked through the door, that was the fuel. I caught the 5 p.m. flight back, feeling clever as hell. I even made a detour on the way from the airport to pick up a box of those ridiculously expensive macarons she loves, the ones from the little French bakery downtown. I remember standing in line, feeling a goofy grin on my face, picturing her reaction. I was so caught up in my little romantic movie plot that I didn't see the flashing red lights, the warning signs the universe was practically screaming at me. I pulled up to our building around 8. The lights were on in the living room, which was good. I fumbled with my keys, juggling my briefcase, my carry-on, and the box of pastries. I remember making a conscious effort to be quiet, to not let the deadbolt make its usual loud thunk. Surprise was key. The apartment was silent, eerily so, no TV, no music. Just the low hum of the refrigerator. Isla, I called out softly. Nothing. My first thought was maybe she'd fallen asleep on the couch. I dropped my bags by the door and tiptoed into the living room. Empty, a wine glass half full sat on the coffee table, not hers. She only drinks white. This was red, a small, insignificant detail that made the back of my neck prickle. I started up the stairs, my heart starting to beat a little faster. It wasn't alarm yet, just confusion. The silence felt wrong, heavy. The bedroom door was slightly ajar, a sliver of warm light spilling onto the landing. And that's when I heard it, not a loud noise, but a sound that didn't belong. A low chuckle, a man's chuckle, deep and unfamiliar in this space. It was followed by Isla's giggle, a soft, breathy sound I knew all too well. For a second, my brain refused to process it. Maybe she has a friend over, maybe her cousin dropped by. The excuses started firing up, the old, familiar defense mechanism. But they sputtered and died right there on the landing. I put my hand on the door. It felt cold. I pushed it open, and the world stopped. It wasn't a movie. It was worse. It was hyperreal. Every detail seared into my brain with sickening clarity. Ronan, her boss, his slicked back hair a mess, propped up against the pillows of our bed, the bed we picked out together. My side of the bed, and Isla, my fiancée, curled up against him, wearing one of my old t-shirts. But that wasn't the first thing I saw. The first thing I saw, the thing that made the air leave my lungs in a silent whoosh, was the glint of silver at her throat. The soft, pale glow of the moonstone, my mother's necklace, resting right there in the hollow of her throat, rising and falling with every breath she took in another man's arms, in our bed. In that instant, something inside me didn't just break, it turned to dust. The part of me that made excuses, that avoided conflict, that always gave her the benefit of the doubt, it was just gone. Vaporized, and in its place, something cold and hard and terrifyingly simple took root. There was no red haze, no blind fury. It was the opposite. A moment of absolute, chilling clarity. The sounds in the room came back, but they were distant, like I was hearing them from underwater. Their startled gasps, the rustle of sheets as they scrambled apart. None of it mattered. My body moved before my brain did. I didn't shout, I didn't scream. I walked forward. My steps felt heavy, deliberate, like I was wading through thick mud. Ronan was trying to say something, my name, probably. Isla was clutching the sheet to her chest, her face a mask of shock and theatrical horror. I didn't even look at him. My eyes were locked on one thing, the pale, milky stone nestled against her skin. I didn't lunge, I reached. My hand was shaking, but my purpose was steady. I hooked 2 fingers under the delicate silver chain, ignoring her flinch, and I pulled, not violently, but with a firm, final pressure. The chain snapped. It made a tiny, insignificant ping sound in the deafening silence of the room. I closed my fist around the necklace, the stone cold against my palm. Only then did I look at her. Really look at her, the woman I was going to marry, and I felt nothing. No love, no heartbreak, just a vast, empty canyon where those things used to be. That's when the sound came. It started low in my gut, a guttural vibration that clawed its way up my throat. It wasn't a word. It was a roar, a raw, animal sound of pure, undiluted rage that I didn't know I was capable of making. Get out. The words ripped out of me, raw and shredded. Isla started to cry, the practiced, pretty tears that had always worked on me before. Owen, baby, it's not what it looks like, I can explain. Out, I roared again, and this time I turned to Ronan, who was fumbling for his pants on the floor. I grabbed his ridiculously expensive shirt from the chair and threw it at his face. Get your shit and get the fuck out of my house. He was a deer in the headlights, stammering apologies, trying to play the reasonable one. It was the worst thing he could have done. I saw red then. I grabbed his laptop bag from the corner, the one she'd always said was so much nicer than yours, and I didn't just hand it to him. I hurled it down the stairs. It bounced and crashed with a sickening crunch of plastic and metal. Their clothes were a heap on the floor. I started kicking them out of the bedroom into the hallway. Her dress, his shoes, her underwear. A tornado of fabric and shame. They scrambled after them, a pathetic, half-naked scramble out of my life. Isla kept trying to talk to me, pleading, her voice cracking. Owen, please, just listen to me, don't do this. I stood at the top of the stairs like a vengeful god, watching them gather their things from the foyer. I didn't feel powerful, I felt purged. Every shout, every act of expulsion was me vomiting up 5 years of swallowed resentment and quiet compromises. I wasn't a man having a conversation. I was an immune system expelling a virus. And as they finally fumbled with the lock and stumbled out into the night, I slammed the door behind them so hard a picture fell off the wall. Then I locked the deadbolt and the chain, and I stood there in the wreckage of my home, breathing, just breathing. The slam of the door echoed in the sudden, crushing silence. The only sounds were my own ragged breaths and the frantic, overclocked thumping of my heart against my ribs. The adrenaline was a firework, a brilliant, violent explosion that left nothing but smoke and ringing in its wake. I stood there in the middle of the living room, surrounded by the ghosts of my life. The couch where we'd binge-watched shows, the rug we argued for weeks about. The faint scent of her perfume still hanging in the air, it was all suddenly foreign, tainted. The whole place felt like a crime scene. The rage, that beautiful, clarifying rage, began to recede. And as it drained away, it left a vacuum, a terrifying, black, bottomless emptiness. I looked at my hands. The one that had ripped the necklace from her throat was still clenched in a fist. I slowly, deliberately uncurled my fingers. There it was. The silver chain was broken, but the moonstone pendant was intact, resting in my palm. It looked duller now, or maybe that was just the light. A wave of nausea washed over me. I stumbled to the kitchen, my legs feeling like they belonged to someone else, and braced myself against the counter. I thought I was going to be sick. I thought I was going to break down, but nothing came, just a hollow, aching void. I was completely and utterly alone. The future I had been building, brick by painful, compromising brick, had been bulldozed in the span of 5 minutes. I needed something, someone. I pulled out my phone. The screen lit up with a picture of me and Isla, smiling on a beach. I stared at it for a long second before my thumb found the delete button. My contacts list felt like a list of strangers. My friends, what would I even say? How do you start that conversation? Hey man, you're not gonna believe this. It felt impossible. My thumb scrolled down past names I didn't recognize, past colleagues, past her family members, and then it stopped. Kate, my sister, my older sister. The one who never liked Isla but was polite enough to never say, I told you so. The one who could read my bullshit better than anyone. My finger hovered over her name. It felt like lifting a 1,000-pound weight. Making that call would make it real. It would mean admitting the whole thing out loud. I hit the call button. It rang once, twice. I almost hung up. Owen, it's late. Is everything okay? Her voice was thick with sleep, but instantly alert. And that's what broke me. Not the betrayal, not the rage, her voice. The simple, unconditional concern in her voice. I opened my mouth to speak, to form words, to explain the inexplicable, but all that came out was a sound. A choked, strangled gasp for air, like a man who's been held underwater and just broke the surface. It wasn't a sob, it was just the sound of a complete and total collapse. There was a pause on the other end. No questions, no panic, just a beat of understanding. Then her voice, clear and steady and cutting through the static in my head. Where are you? She asked. Home, I managed to whisper. The word tasted like ash. No, you're not, she said, her voice firm, leaving no room for argument. Leave right now. Walk out the door, get in your car, and come here. Don't pack anything, don't look at anything, just come to me now. That command, that simple, clear instruction, was the only thing in the world that made sense. It was a lifeline, and I grabbed it like a drowning man. It's been a few days, or maybe a week. The hours blur into a gray, monotonous stream. I'm still at Kate's in the guest room with the lumpy mattress. I've showered. I'm wearing clean clothes she left out for me, a soft, nondescript t-shirt and sweatpants that are a little too big. The anger is gone. I search for it sometimes in the quiet moments, but it's not there. It burned itself out, leaving behind a fine layer of ash over everything. In its place is this vast, unnerving quiet. They call it the calm after the storm, but it's not calm. It's empty. It's a hollowed-out peace that doesn't feel peaceful at all. It feels like a void. I spend most of my time sitting in the armchair by the window, watching cars pass on the street below. They're all going somewhere. To work, to the grocery store, home. Their lives are still moving forward on the tracks they've laid. Mine have been ripped up, ties and all. My entire life, my daily routines, my future plans, my goddamn grocery list, it was all entangled with her. Now that she's been cut away, there's just nothing. A huge, gaping hole where a life used to be. Kate's been amazing. She doesn't push, she doesn't pry. She just exists, a quiet, solid presence. She makes me coffee in the morning, leaves a sandwich on the counter for lunch, and in the evening we'll watch some stupid TV show without really watching it. She's giving me space to just be broken, and I love her for it more than I can say. In my pocket, my fingers find the necklace. I've been carrying it with me constantly. I take it out and hold it in my palm. The chain is still broken, dangling from the pendant. I run my thumb over the smooth, cool surface of the moonstone. I don't know what to do with it. It feels too sacred to throw away, but too painful to keep. It's a relic from a life that no longer exists, a symbol of both my mother's love and Isla's ultimate betrayal. I know I did the right thing. There's a part of me, a small, quiet part, that feels a sense of relief, a sense of freedom from the constant anxiety, the endless compromises, the feeling of never being quite good enough. But that freedom is terrifying. It's the freedom of a man adrift in the middle of the ocean with no land in sight. Last night, I woke up from a dream I can't remember, and for a split second, I forgot where I was. I reached for the other side of the bed, expecting to find her there. The empty, cool sheets were a fresh shock to the system, and in that moment, sitting alone in the dark, I wasn't angry or relieved. I just felt the overwhelming weight of the silence, the empty calm. The storm is over, and I survived, but I have no idea what to do with the wreckage.